What had been little more than whispers in the paddock has now come to light. Ferrari's top two drivers, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, made shocking statements that shook the legendary Maranello team to its core. Following the chaotic Canadian Grand Prix, both drivers openly questioned the team's strategic competence, suggesting that Ferrari's internal crisis has reached a tipping point. Could this be the beginning of a major split that will rock Ferrari's new era? Let's discuss it, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Ferrari's weekend was disrupted from the start. Charles Leclerc crashed just 15 minutes into FP1, immediately disrupting the team's rhythm on the first day. His car was badly damaged, causing the team to lose valuable time understanding the grip characteristics of the Montreal track, which is notoriously unpredictable and fast-changing. With minimal track time and limited data, Ferrari's preparations were inadequate. They were behind not only in terms of speed but also in their strategic understanding of tires and setup. From this point alone, it was clear that the weekend would be troubled. Entering qualifying, hopes of a comeback were dashed. Problems continued to plague Ferrari. Charles Leclerc was unable to set an optimal time after the Q2 session was disrupted by a red flag due to an incident involving Isaac Hadjar. Without the opportunity to complete an additional flying lap, Leclerc had to settle for starting in 8th position, far from the team's expected target. Lewis Hamilton also faced an unfriendly weekend. He failed to break into the top 5, which was a strong signal that the SF25 car was still not competitive in a one-lap qualifying configuration. However, these difficulties were just the beginning. The real disaster came on Sunday when the race started. On the 30th lap, amid heavy traffic, Charles Leclerc sent a clear message to his engineer via the team radio: "The tires are good." This was more than just technical information. It was an important signal from a driver who could feel the performance of his car and tires directly on the track. It meant that the tires were still in very good condition and that the one pit stop strategy could be executed well. In racing, where every second counts, this information should be the basis for team decision-making. However, just a few minutes later, Ferrari made a surprising decision, calling Leclerc into the pits and seemingly ignoring all input from the driver. Even worse, instead of adjusting the strategy to be more aggressive or flexible, Ferrari gave him hard tires again. This immediately locked Leclerc into a conservative strategy of 2 pit stops. Leclerc could not hide his disappointment. His voice exploded over the team radio: "Guys, why did we come into the pits?" The engineer's answer was cold and flat: "We're on plan B." Clearly angry, Leclerc replied, "I told you the tires were good." The decision proved fatal. Instead of moving forward, Leclerc got stuck behind a group of slower cars. He lost his racing rhythm and ultimately failed to break into the top 5. The potential to convert that into solid results evaporated due to rigid strategy and one-way communication. After the race, Leclerc held nothing back when interviewed by the media: "The degradation is not high. I am sure I can make it with one stop. It's not just about bad results, but about a system that doesn't want to change." His statement was a slap in the face to Ferrari, not only because of the tactical failure, but also because it reinforced the idea that driver feedback is not central to the team's decision-making process. Although it wasn't obvious on screen, Lewis Hamilton's race at the Canadian Grand Prix actually reopened old wounds that had healed. From the start, Hamilton appeared frustrated. He repeatedly complained about the car's imbalance and lack of rear grip, which made it difficult to push and maintain a rhythm. The most worrying moment came when he asked over the team radio, "Where did I lose 25 seconds?" He received only silence and vague answers, with no concrete analysis or explanation. There was no clear information about strategy, position, or adjustments that could be made. It was as if the 7-time world champion was racing blind, without direction or a compass. Hamilton could not hide his disappointment after the race. He spoke bluntly: "We didn't move fast enough. Other teams brought updates. We didn't. I've been asking for them for a long time, and they haven't come." His frustration extended beyond performance on the track. He was talking about the team's direction, the pace of innovation, and the failure to respond to rivals' developments. His most pointed comments, however, came when he took aim at the team's internal systems. "There are a lot of things that need to be fixed internally. I wish I could tell you what's going on, but I can't." This statement implied that the problem was no longer with the car or the strategy on the track, but rather at the heart of the organization: the structure, communication, and culture behind the scenes. With all his experience, Hamilton was not just highlighting technical failures. He was signaling that the team he was racing for had reached a state of stagnation, trapped in an inflexible system that was slow to respond and perhaps unwilling to change. The harsh criticisms of Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc after the Canadian Grand Prix were not just momentary frustrations. They were serious signals, precisely calibrated and openly delivered to the media, not just to the public, but to shake Ferrari's management from within. In Formula One, words carry weight. When two leading drivers speak with the same tone and almost identical language, it is no longer a coincidence. It is coordination. It's a joint move to say, "We don't believe anymore. We are not happy, and we will not remain silent," is the underlying message of each sentence they utter. They don't name names or blame individuals directly. However, the focus of their criticism is clear. Ferrari's internal structure has failed to provide a stable foundation for competing at the highest level. This is more than just an incorrect strategy or a poorly timed pit stop. It's a crisis of confidence, a problem far deeper and more dangerous than a technical failure. When trust in a team is lost, everything starts to crumble from within. Communication dulls, motivation evaporates, and decisions lose their way. Ferrari, a legendary team with a long history and a foundation of Italian pride, is now on the brink of disaster. It's not just because of the car's performance, it's also because the two figures who should have been the pillars of their future are now speaking out, "We are no longer convinced by the direction you are taking." If Hamilton, a seven-time world champion, and Leclerc, Ferrari's golden boy for years, are united in their doubts, then the question is no longer who is to blame but how deep the cracks have spread throughout the team. If Ferrari doesn't act soon, it won't just be about losing races. It's about losing trust that may never return. For years, Leclerc has symbolized Ferrari's loyalty, a talented young driver who stuck by his team despite being hurt by flawed strategies and confusing technical decisions. But now, the look on his face in the paddock no longer holds the same hope. His patience is wearing thin, and his frustration becomes more evident with each race weekend. Lewis Hamilton, on the other hand, comes to Ferrari with a wealth of achievements and great ambition, not just to end his career with glory, but also to revive the glory days of this legendary team. However, what he has found so far is disheartening. A team that seems lost and slow to respond to change, stuck in a deep pattern of internal miscommunication. Ferrari is on the brink of collapse. Time is running out, and the pressure is mounting from both the public and within the company. The next few weeks will be crucial. Will they be able to fix their crumbling systems, restore effective working structures, and regain the trust of their drivers? Or will they allow their glorious legacy to crumble in silence? The tensions hidden behind diplomatic smiles and standard statements can no longer be concealed. The Canadian Grand Prix became a public stage for Ferrari's internal crisis, with the team's two most influential figures finally speaking out. It was not just a critique of strategy but also an ultimatum. Change must happen now. Will Ferrari listen before it's too late? Write your thoughts below.